And we're live. Welcome to the Know Yourself Revolution. My name is Grace Gravestock, and today we are going to talk about how not to become your mom. How not to become your mom. Have you ever wondered if you are destined to be like your mom or your dad, and you find yourself as you get older, especially towards midlife, doing and saying the things that they used to do and say, and then you swear to yourself, I'm not going to become them. So today I want to share with you how to know how not to become your mom or your dad. So I want to start with a quick story. I had a sad rapport. I'm going to say not rapport. I had a sad story between my dad and I. It was based on this song. I don't know if you've ever heard the song "Cats in the Cradle," but it was our song, and it was our song because I was very resentful growing up that my dad was not available most of the time. He was out working, and so we had this kind of joke between us, and I would say, "Dad, when are we going to do this?" And then he would say, "Well, later, or another time." And then that would sometimes happen, but most of the time it wouldn't. So I got really sad and frustrated with my dad and with the relationship that we had, and I wanted something more from him, but he just didn't have the time. So as I got older, I would talk about that song, and we used it as a way to have some difficult conversations about who I was and who he was and how our relationship could improve. So I'm happy to say that today we have a much better relationship, I think. And he's slowed down enough in his life, and he always makes time for my phone calls. They're always less than 12 minutes. And so I know that it's never going to be a long conversation, but it's going to be helpful if I ask him things that are going to be in his area of expertise. And so I had a big aha recently that I wanted to share in case it's helpful to you, even though it's a little bit embarrassing. So I have a 7-year-old now, and I never thought that I would be a parent. So my partner has, it's his child, and I have adopted him and the 7-year-old into my family as if he was my own. And so the other day he came home from school, and I found myself, normally I would give him a big hug and a kiss and ask him how was his day and hang out with him. But for several days in a row, I found myself saying to him, like, okay, let's connect later. I'm just about to go live, or I'm just about to get into a meeting or something. And what I noticed all of a sudden when I was doing this personal development training last week was that I had become my dad. And it made me feel really sad that I had finally got to that place. And I realized that if I didn't make some changes, that this 7-year-old might someday have feelings about me that were similar to the feelings that I had about my dad when I was 7. And I definitely didn't want that. So after I had this realization, he came home from school another day, and he had some free time, and I was about to take a walk. And so I asked him if he wanted to go with me, and he didn't, but he said, how about we go outside and play ball? And I am not really a sporty person, and so that's not something I would have normally said yes to. And of course, I had my flowy clothes on and my jewelry and everything, but I thought to myself, you know what? I don't want to become like my dad, and I don't want him to ever have that experience of thinking that he's less important than my work. So I just put my tennis shoes on and I went outside and we played ball. And, it really wasn't that long, probably 20 or 30 minutes. We played ball. We had such a great time. And I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to keep up and that I'm just not sporty enough or whatever. But I mean, he is a 7-year-old, so I was able to keep up. And we actually had a lot of fun. And then since then, he's asked me several times if I want to go outside and play ball. And I always try to make time to do it, even if just for a few minutes, because it was such a positive connection between us. And it really was fun and easy for me to make those wins in our relationship. And then today, as I was noticing my curls in my hair. Sometimes living in Austin, we have a certain kind of weather. It's kind of humid, and so some days my hair gets really curly. And so when it does, like today, I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, I'm becoming like my mom." With she always liked the curls and the pinks, and she would always tell me just wear a little bit of makeup to bring color to my face. And there was a time when I used to resent that, and so I spent years like trying to straighten my hair and not wear makeup, and I just did things that I was, now when I look back, I was kind of rebelling against that version of me that I believe was that I thought, like I didn't want to do the things that my mom thought that I should do because it's my mom, right? Even though I love her dearly, and I really am so grateful for all the advice and guidance that she has given me, but I didn't want to become her. But then what I realized is that I could never become her, nor would she want me to, and nor would I want to. And the same with my dad. And so I wanted to share this with you. How not to become your mom and dad is, and of course I'm going to come from the human design lens. It's based on your knowing who you're really not. And so if you are curious about this, you can get your chart at whatsmychart.com, and what you'll see is your configuration, which has color. The color represents the things that you're here to master, and the white areas represent the areas that you're here to learn about through relationships. And so those areas that you're here to learn about tend to be the places where we pick up what I call conditioning and programming from our parents. And so, most of us have quite a bit of what I'm going to say white in our chart, openness. And so what that means is it's areas where we are much more susceptible to conditioning and programming from others. So there was one of my big learnings in the last week is about how similar I am to my dad, for instance. And that was a little bit, not some ways not surprising, in some ways more surprising, but it wasn't always positive. And so what I realized is that a lot of that has to do with conditioning and programming. And so I have taken in, beliefs and attitudes and ways of being, ways of living, working, and being that were not actually mine. They actually belonged to my dad, and I adopted them as mine. And when I noticed how big of an impact that's having on my life and what that's meant for my abundance, for instance, the way I see money, the way I see resources is very, very disturbing. What I want to encourage you to do is to really think about today, what is it that makes you different than your parents, and then in what ways are you like your parents? And I would put money on, I would bet that there are areas that you have picked up ways of living, working, and being from your parents. We all do, it's natural. And so we pick these things up and we internalize them as if they're ours. And most of the time, and these are the most damaging ones, they're unconscious. So we are not even aware of how much we are being impacted by these beliefs or ways of living, working, and being that are not even ours. They belong to someone else. And in many cases, it comes from our parents or whoever we spent a lot of time with when we were younger. It could even apply to adults. Like when I was married before, I picked up a lot of ways of thinking about myself that were not healthy, and they were not innate to me. They were things that I picked up from a partner who was trying to manipulate me, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even realize it. So the question that I have for you today is, who are you really? And how interested are you in finding out what you can do, how you can make those changes? What are those unconscious blocks that you have? What are the superpowers that are unique to you? You can find all of that and so much more when you get a reading. So you can find out what you're hardwired for You can find out where you're most likely to have that conditioning and programming. You can also find out what your superpowers are, the things that you're actually hardwired not just to be and do as it relates to work, but you're going to find out what you're hardwired for as it relates to how to have better relationships, how to make better decisions, and so much more. So I encourage you to schedule time to find that out at kyr.life/reading. And if nothing else, get your free chart and find out the work that you are here to do. And if this is particularly relevant for you, if you're in a job transition, a career transition, I have picked out the 4 most important things that human design shares with us about our configuration and put them into a 2-page free report. Pretty soon that's going to be a 3-page report, and it's going to tell you about the work that you're here to be and do, the work you're here to do, and the things you're here to be and do. So as it relates to work, there's also other options there too if you're really interested. But if you want personalized help with this, it can be complicated, and I don't recommend becoming an expert in this unless you're super interested in it. But it does take time. There's 7 ancient systems that are represented here in the system called human design. And so it's very complicated, and there's a lot of levels and layers to it. So there's a lot to know, but you can come to your session with a question, and I can help you to see what it is as it relates, for instance, to your parents. Like, what is it that you have unconsciously versus what is the part of you that you think is actually you. There's a difference. And so we can talk about that. So find out what you're here to be and do, download your chart, and schedule time for a reading to get more of an in-depth analysis so that you can find out the answers to your questions about what's going on in your life, and all of this to help you not become your mom or your dad. Not that we don't love them and don't appreciate them, but if you are concerned about repeating patterns, this is an amazing way to address where those pieces are that you're living out in your life that are you versus what's not you. So I look forward to meeting you and talking more about this when we connect. kyr.life/reading, and you can learn more then, or you can just get your free chart. So I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow if you join my lives every day this month. We're almost to the end of the month. I can't wait to see you again. Thank you so much for being here. If you could please put in the comments where you're watching from, and if you have any questions, I would love to know that. I'm in Austin, Texas, and I'm also building a community. So I'd love to help you be in touch with people that are like-minded wherever you are. So let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you have any questions or comments, thank you so much for being part of the Know Yourself Revolution. Together, we can positively impact 5 billion people by 2025 by helping others know, love, and trust themselves. We start with ourselves first. We know, love, and trust ourselves, and we lead by example. We make this impact through collaboration, alignment, and frequency. So thank you for being part of this movement, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.